we got 2 bowls of makeup today. Which one is expensive and which one is cheap? I just looked at each of them. It took me a minute to prepare this video, but today I have a full face of high-end dupes from very affordable brands. And sometimes we have some nice high-end, beautiful, luxurious items that we just don't want to spend the money on, and there are just drugstore hidden gems right around the corner that are going to do the exact same thing for you. And I'm here today to reveal those gems and show you my favorites that I think actually perform kind of similarly. So I'm going to be applying the high-end products on one side of my face and the drugstore product to the other side of my face, and I will reveal at the end which one is which. Even though I kind of think that maybe along the way you're gonna see some packaging. We'll see. I'll try really hard. So let's start off. Who doesn't like a good dupe, right? So here I have my high-end bowl. Not all of this is like 100% high-end. Some of these are just super hyped up products. They're not the cheapest. And here we have the more affordable bowl, which is full of beautiful, beautiful products that work just as well as the other one. So let's dive right in. We're going to start with priming. I do not have a pore filler today, so we're gonna see all of the pores, all of them. But I have 2 primers here. The primer we're going to dupe is the Farsali Liquid Glass Radiance Make Skin Serum with Hyaluronic Acid. This is a beautiful product. I got it on sale. It's incredible. The dupe I have for this is the Wet n Wild Prime Focus Primer Serum, which is also a hydrating primer with a little pipette. And they're both hydrating, they're both supposed to illuminate the skin. They're both kind of a little bit like glowy and glittery. So let's apply them to my face. As you will see in the swatch, there is a slight difference between the 2 of these. Okay, first I have to decide on which side is gonna be my high-end side. Oh, this is gonna be real hard to apply just to a half of my face. So we're nice and primed. Now, if you look at the face, it doesn't necessarily look that different. Both sides look very luminous. And if I was to describe the difference between these 2, they both have kind of like tiny golden gold specks in them. So they're both just a tiny bit glittery. It doesn't really look like glitter. It looks more like this beautiful sheen. But they're both similar in that. This one is a little bit more sticky and a little bit more like there, and this one is a little bit more lightweight, but it also doesn't hold the moisture as much as the Farsali one. But honestly, with the price of the Farsali, I think this is a great alternative, and it gives you a very similar effect, as you can hopefully see on my face. And we're going to continue with the foundation. So for foundations, I actually have multiple dupes that I can share with you. Today I went for quite a recent product. So this is the Glowish by Huda Beauty Multi-Dew Skin Tint. This is quite a popular product, I believe. To be fully honest with you, it is not like 100% my favorite. The shade is a little bit off. The texture doesn't really sit with my skin that well. But it works if I don't wear it for too long. If I wear it too long, it just doesn't cooperate. And the dupe for this, it's funny because this product is actually older, I believe, but this is the Essence Hello Good Stuff Tinted Beauty Cream, which is a moisturizing tinted balm. Very similar thing. They're both very thick in texture, they have quite a good coverage, and they're very nice and hydrating on the skin. So the biggest difference between the 2 of these is honestly the shade, because the Glowish one is a little bit too dark for me, which means you're probably going to know which side is which. So to be fair, I'm gonna take 2 very similar foundation brushes. Quite frankly, they're both a little bit dark for me, so I don't think you can tell as much. But we have a beautiful light medium, super dewy coverage. It's mostly because of the primers as well, because both primers were super hydrating, pretty luminous. Both foundations are also pretty luminous, super hydrating. I really like them for the winter because my skin gets so dry. This one doesn't last on me as well, but honestly this Essence one is like one of my favorite tinted moisturizers slash balms, whatever. This is incredible. The only shame is that they make it in just like 2 shades. We're looking very healthy and very hydrated, and that's just how I like it. Let's tone that down a little bit, shall we? Because next we have a concealer. This is a highly anticipated Jouer Essential High Coverage Concealer. Everybody knows this. I mean, come on. Everybody knows it's better than Shape Tape. It's a great concealer. Again, we're gonna have a little bit of a shade mismatch. I have the shade Creme Cafe, which is again a little bit too dark for me. But a great dupe for that is the j.cat Beauty Stay Assurance Water Sealed Zero Smudge Concealer. Funny thing is, it's even like the same packaging, just this one is fancy, this one is a lot more plasticky. But they're both matte concealers that are supposed to be hydrating. This one has hyaluronic acid and this one is supposed to seal moisture under the eyes. So we're going to see how they actually work. The nose is going to be the real challenge, we all know that. There we go, concealer done. Again, I expected a little bit bigger difference. Quite frankly, you can see the dark under eye circles I had are a little bit less visible right now, which is great in my opinion. The concealers are supposed to be hydrating, but they don't really have like a dewy finish. It's really just the foundation underneath and the glowy primer and everything. And next we're going to continue with the powder. No, you know what? Next we're going to continue with the bronzer because I actually have a cream one. What we're trying to dupe today is the infamous Fenty Beauty Cream Bronzer. Everybody knows it, everybody loves it, I love it a lot. I have the shade Macchiato and it's honestly one of my favorite cream bronzers to ever exist. I freaking love it. And a bronzer that I got fairly recently that reminds me of it greatly is actually the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. I think it's in the shade, it's not written on the packaging, so it's making me very angry, but I think it's in the shade Honey Drip, and it looks like this, because they're both quite neutral, and they're a little bit deeper than I would normally think I should go, but they work really well for me. So we're going to apply those. So I'm not sure how visible it is because the bronzers seem to be very similar shade to the foundations, but you can see on both sides, they're not overly matte, they kind of have the same tone, even the texture is very similar. So yeah, I would really recommend the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. I think it's a great bronzer, and the shade really fits so well. It's so similar to the Macchiato shade from Fenty. Right now, if I look at myself, I wouldn't think we're going half and half, which is a great sign of me picking out some good dupes. So I don't have a dupe for loose face powder, so I'm going to powder my face. So I'm going to give both faces the same glowy treatment, and I'm going to use the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Luminous Magic Star Powder and be right back. Okay, so we are nice and set. If you look really close, you can see that there's still a little bit of a sheen on the face. That's because I use luminous powders. You can keep the glow, you can still look beautiful, but your foundation doesn't transfer, so I'm super happy about that. Next, we're going to focus on the under eyes. And we can brighten up the face overall just a little bit. So I said I don't have a face powder, which is true, but I do have a finishing powder dupe. I'm going to start off by saying we all love a good Hourglass dupe. So I have this, which is the Hourglass palette from last year's Christmas collection. And if you know Hourglass, they have a beautiful, beautiful formulas for their powders. But like the most iconic ones are these two up here, which are their finishing powders. These are the Dim Light and Diffused Light finishing powders. And specifically for the white one here in the middle, which is called the Diffused Light, I actually have somewhat of a dupe, as you're going to see on the clip. So it's an incredibly beautiful brightening powder. It's not quite as brightening as a highlighter, but it's very beautiful and smooth and just overall gorgeous. And this is one of the main reasons why people love Hourglass, because not many brands do powders like these. But I've been going through my collection and I stumbled upon this powder, which I do use occasionally, but I never realized how similar they are. That's kind of the thing. It's like, this is like the Hourglass vibe. Nothing can top that or even come close. But it actually can. Because this is the Belle Cosmetics Perfectionist powder. They have like a pink and a yellow version. This is the yellowy version. And it's exactly the same thing. Super finely melt, beautiful illuminating powder. I'll try to show you in the clip, but it's very hard. And we're going to just lightly highlight some areas around my face. And there we go. But the thing with these is, the thing with finishing powders is that they're usually not that visible on camera, but in real life you can clearly see like the illumination and the effect. And I guess you just have to take my word for that, but they're both very, very similar and very, very beautiful. So this was the finishing powder. Now I think we can move on to eyebrows. I have a pencil dupe first. So I think we all know the infamous Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil. To be fully honest, I'm not a big fan of these. I find them a little bit too hard and I haven't found a shade that would suit me well. Nonetheless, many people love them and I think it's a good idea to dupe them. I have a lot of great pencils in my collection, but this one honestly kind of just beats them all. This is the H&M Superfine Brow Liner. This is honestly my favorite brow pencil, and they're very similar. This one is also a little bit more hard, but I find it much easier to work with, and they're both just brow pencils, you know? I even find the shade kind of close. So I have this one in the shade 1, and I have the H&M one in the shade Caramel Brown. So I think I'm just gonna put the clip in now because I'll have to show the pencil as I do my eyebrow. And I'll be right back. So here we go. This is the first step in the brows. They look a little bit different, but kind of similar tone. I suck at pencil eyebrows, so I'm sorry. These don't look the best. So now let's look at the other brow product because we need to fluff them up a little bit, I think. And a couple of years back, we had this great boom of caterpillar eyebrows and brow waxes were a thing and still are. So the Fenty Beauty Brow MVP Brow Wax came out. Everybody was losing their shit about it. I freaking love it. Like, look how much is left. This is all that's left. I used up the whole thing through the years. And I got a great dupe for that. And I actually mentioned it already in one of the videos I have. And it is the e.l.f. Shape and Stay Brow Pencil, which is also a wax pencil. The only difference is that the e.l.f. one has a sharpener and the Fenty one actually has this stylus that gets incredibly dirty and disgusting. But yeah, they're both essentially very similar. So because you would notice the packaging too, I'm just going to apply the brow wax and I'll be back in a couple of minutes. So there we go. The brows are a little bit more fluffy, nothing crazy. And now we can start with the eyeshadow. So it's hard to look for eyeshadow dupes, but I managed to take something here and there that had a very similar vibe. So I do have a couple eye products, not many, but we will do some very questionable eye look to compare them. So first thing we need to do though is prime. And what else do you want to dupe? Then the infamous p.louise base. That is not my favorite, but I think a lot of people would be interested in a more affordable dupe. Let me present to you the H&M Mi Fidelity Primer, which is a very similar story. They even have similar packaging. But this one is a lot more affordable, especially if you get it on sale. I'm actually not sure how much it is when it's full price, but I got it for like €2. And they have these sales all the time. They're both very similar. They're pigmented eye bases that cover all your eyelids, should help the eyeshadow blend better. They're pretty full coverage and they're very similar in texture as well. I just find the H&M one way less oily. So I feel like there's mostly difference in like tone of the bases, because each of them are pigmented. One is a little bit more on the pink side, one is a little bit more neutral, but they do feel very similar. The H&M one is definitely a little bit more lightweight and a little bit less sticky. It's still sticky, but less sticky. I would personally recommend the H&M one, as I already said, but you know, the p.louise one is also not a bad product if that's something you're looking for. Next we have eye products, and this was hard because honestly duping eyeshadows is difficult because the formulas are just going to be different, the shades are going to be different, and I didn't particularly have any like palette that would supposed to be a dupe of something else. So I looked into more like single eyeshadows and liners and stuff like that that can be actually very pricey because they're usually like special effect. And, you know, I also found some good dupes. So let's start off with some eyeshadow. I'm not even sure if these are still sold, but I believe they are. These are the KVD Cream Foil eyeshadows. Honestly, these are the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Incredibly pigmented and so reflective. Absolutely worth every penny. But I'm not sure if they aren't discontinued. However, I still had to share that dupe because if they are, that's one more reason to get a dupe of these. As a dupe of these, which is not like 100% dupe, but they're similar enough and very impressive too, are the Essence Melted Chrome eyeshadows. Honestly, those are like my favorite drugstore gem I ever discovered. These single eyeshadows are absolutely stunning. Like, honestly, I've never seen a better shimmer in my life in the drugstore. They're creamy, they're rich, they're pigmented, they're reflective. They're everything you need and more. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I honestly don't know. Because we have such a weird combination of things that I don't know what I want to do. So I think I'll just do like a very shitty halo eye. This is gonna be the worst eye look ever because I'm gonna be working with two shimmers, water activated liner, and a regular eyeliner. That's gonna be a mess, but bear with me. We're going for a frosty mess today, but as you can see, both sides are very reflective. There's a slightly different tone between each of these because one of the pinks has a little bit more of a gold reflect and the other one has a little bit more of a pure like silver reflect. If you know the shades, you're gonna know which one is which, but looking in the mirror, it's not that like far. I hate the look already, but they look really cool. So this is kind of it. I just wanted to show you and compare both of these shades because they're both beautiful. Okay, I just don't have the heart to fuck this up with a very colorful liner. So we're gonna start off with a normal wing, and then we're gonna do like a nice colorful accent, maybe. It's gonna look so bad, like I know it, but it's okay. We're just trying out stuff, okay? We're not going for a good look. This is gonna be horrible. But I have a dupe for the KVD tattoo liner, and we all know that it's been done a million times. A million brands have these kinds of liners with a brush tip, but many people would tell you that the NYX Epic Ink Liner is the best dupe. No, it's not. Every time I had it in a couple weeks, months, it just started bleeding like crazy and it was absolutely unusable. I had it 4 times, it happened every single time. So that's not a good dupe for me. For me, the best dupe I found so far is the Catrice Brush Ink Tattoo Liner Waterproof, which is exactly the same thing. It's also a beautiful, beautiful brush tip, and it's super easy to work with. And I find that the formula is actually quite similar, and they don't really bleed that much. They're both very black. I mean, you're gonna see. So we have 2 almost symmetrical wings. I would say they're both the same depth. Yeah, and for the price, I mean, this one, you just cannot go wrong with a good Catrice liner, honestly. And now for the last eye product, I have some water activated liners, and we all know this, right? ABH came out with this beautiful, beautiful stack liner. And there's also the other version which has different colors, but they're pretty expensive. And what is a way cheaper alternative that works just as well is the Beauty Bay liner palette. They have actually a second one with different shades. All of them are just beautiful. Look at these. I mostly wanted this one for these like pastel shades, and they're stunning. But today we're going to be comparing some of the more vibrant ones. So I think we're just going to go insane, and we're just going to go purple because the orange, I think the orange would be just a little bit too much. So let's go in with the purple. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not the best at graphic liners, okay? I'm just not. Here we go, we did a little something. It looks awful, but you know what? Nobody cares. I just wanted to show you that these liners are pretty much identical. The tone is very similar, even on the orange, and they're both just very nice and very easy to work with. I would say I like this a little bit more in terms of packaging, because this gets so freaking messy. Like, you wouldn't even imagine how messy this stack is. I mean, it's cute as hell, but this is way more practical. I don't have any mascara to really dupe for you, so I'm just going to take one of my trusty mascaras and we'll move on to the rest of the face. Alrighty, so this is probably the worst look I've ever done, but you wouldn't tell that each of these monstrosities is from different products, would you? So let's just keep going before I make up my mind and cancel this whole fucking video. So I decided to go straight to blush, and I'm going to give you a dupe of one of my current favorites, the Patmograph, of course, in the shade Flirtatious. Look at her. She's pink, she's dusty, she's beautifully cool toned. So good. It's such a beautiful shade. It's like very muted but also very beautiful. So I'm in love with it so much. And I was pretty excited and also pretty mad at me when I actually find out that I have a dupe of this in my collection. It's not the exact same tone, but in my opinion it is close enough. It's also that like juicy matte formula. It blends really well. It's super like nice and silky. And it's also from H&M. I mean, man, H&M is just stealing my heart all the time. So this is the Pure Radiance Powder Blush in the shade Cameo Pink. Look at her. She's beautiful. She looks a lot more brown on the camera than she does in real life, I would say. In real life, they're a bit more similar. On the camera, they're both super washed out though, so... I tried to layer them both pretty heavily so we can really see the pigment, It's kind of dusty, it's pink-ish, but not like super pink. And honestly, on both sides, all I can see is a super smooth, gorgeous blush shade. Yeah, they may look a little bit different in the swatch, but honestly on the skin, I feel like they're really similar. So next we're gonna go in with a highlighter, and we're almost done. So for the highlight, again, I have a dupe for the Hourglass highlighter. So again, in this beautiful palette, we have one highlighter, which is right here, which is in the shade Glistening Strobe Light. And it's kind of like goldeny shade with a lot of sparkle. They have very tiny, tiny, tiny glitter particles in their products. It's a beautiful highlight. It's like a little bit almost too dark for me, but if I don't go too heavy, it's fine. Which reminds me of one of the highlighters I tested semi-recently. This is a great dupe for that, which is one of my favorite highlighters at the moment. This is the Essence Glowing Gold Vitamin C Baked Highlighter. This is a very similar formula. It's also baked. It also has super tiny glitter speckles in it. It's also that almost too dark, but not really if I don't go ham. They have slightly different tones to them, but I'm focusing more on the texture and the overall vibe, I would say. Here we have the highlighters. I hope you can see it. I never know where to put my head on the other side. They're both the kind of highlighter that's not going to emphasize the texture. It's going to be very glowy, not really super metallic. I'm a big fan of both of these. So, that is completely that. And now we're going to move on to the lip. And I actually have a super cool dupe. Or at least I think it's super cool. And I have a dupe for these, which I bought in a teeny tiny set. And they're pretty bougie. These are the Patmograph Sheer Color Lip Balms. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go for the Flush 3 because I like it a bit more. But the second one is also very similar. And what am I talking about? Yeah, you can totally use the Sofx Revolution lip balms instead of the Patmograph ones. They're very similar formula-wise. They are very similarly pigmented as well, even though I would say that the Patmograph ones have a little bit more pigment and the Sof ones are a little bit more balmy, but you can build them up, you know, you can pretty much kind of achieve the same level. The deeper one is very similar to the shade Flush 3, and the lighter one is very similar to the shade Blow Up. I think I'm just gonna pick up a little bit of a lip liner or a lipstick. I'm going to take the teeniest, tiniest bit of the Wet n Wild Mocha-licious and just yeah, because I hate to start with just naked lip. I don't like the way it looks. And now I'm just gonna, I guess, paint it off camera because you're gonna see the lipstick. Yeah, okay, so now I'm just gonna paint the lips and be right back. And this is the finished look. So what do we think? I mean, obviously we think that the whole look is horrendous. It's horrible, but we just had to try things out, so we did. Blame me for that. I would almost feel like the only dead giveaway is the lip, because the shades are a little bit different. What do you think? Which one is our original high-end side and which one is our more affordable side full of dupes? Tell me below. I want to know what you think. Drum roll. This is the high-end side and this is the drugstore side. If you look at both of those sides, and I'm gonna actually take a mirror and take a close look. Oh, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. If I just went out like this, yeah, the lip is a little weird because clearly the Patmograph lip balm has more pigment and it's different in tone a little bit than the Sof one, but they feel almost the same. But other than that, even the eyeshadow, which I honestly thought is the most different one, doesn't look that different. That Essence eyeshadow for like a couple, literally a couple dollars, just almost beats the KVD cream foil, which is like the greatest thing I've ever seen. And now side by side, they look almost the same. If you look at the foundation, like it even feels the same. Like, honestly, I think I nailed it. Like, I nailed it a lot. Even if you touch the eyebrows, similar waxiness and similar non-matching, kind of warm, a little too light eyebrow shade. I couldn't be happier with this. I mean, the look is garbage, but we found so many dupes. Like, are you kidding me? That is incredible. I have a full face of dupes that actually work. And when it comes to longevity of all of these, I really guarantee that they're very, very similar. So tell me, would you know, did something give away what we're looking at or not? I really did my best not to reveal anything until the end. So let me know if you like this type of video. I have tons of other dupes I want to show you. So thank you very much for watching. Consider subscribing. And if you want to see more videos of me trying out makeup, you can check out the playlist. See you next time. Bye!